In terms of kind of one of the other aspects that you spoke about in the TEDx was the financial stability for players. And I think this is an issue for all sports really, because there's always going to be a cut-off point where you don't make the grade and you're probably not going to make enough money to be a professional player. What are you seeing in India in terms of the development of that financial support? It is something that is talked about in badminton a lot, that it's not a professional sport, that you can't make money out of playing badminton. It's just for fun, or it's just for going to the Olympics and then nothing else.
An athlete starts playing with
Hmm.
with an objective just to enjoy the sport.
Hmm.
No Indian athlete or no athlete for that matter starts the sport with a motive of earning money in it.
Right.
Nobody thinks about the financial aspects and then enrolls himself or herself into the sport.
Hmm.
But as things go further, as you want to enter the professional style of playing, you have to sacrifice on a lot of things.
Hmm.
For example, academics.
Yep.
For example, a lot of family gatherings, a lot of places where you would rather go and socialize, you have to sacrifice on all of those things just to be able to play and perform in a particular sport.
Right.
And you lose out on a lot of things in in trying to become better in this sport. So you lose out on a lot of other co-curricular activities that go on in life. So what happens is that since you are left out academically, and since academically you don't have a lot left,
Hmm.
so a lot of companies would not offer you a position
Right.
to do a corporate job or do any other kind of job.
Hmm.
So similarly, now the only kind of a profession that an athlete is left up with is to coach.
Right. Hmm.
So all these so let's say for example, let's see the All India situation. There are about 1,000 athletes who undergo coaching. All of them train for the same amount of time.
Hmm.
All of them train equally. All of them invest equally in that kind of a sport.
Hmm.
But only 32 amongst them are able to make it to the top.
Yes.
So the rest 900, all of those become coaches.
Right. Okay.
Let's say, for example, this is just a hypothetical situation where all of them become coaches.
Hmm.
So that's the only kind of a
The route.
afterlife after badminton left for them. And in this kind
Okay.
of a situation, they're not able to do much because coaching is an aspect where you have to be dependent on a lot of other factors. For example, the kids wish to play, his goals, his parents' goals, his family goals,
Hmm.
how much they want their son or daughter to perform, how
Hmm.
much they want them to go higher in terms of sport. Some of them don't wish to continue sport after a certain point of time. They want to their sons or daughters to get into studies. So in that kind of a situation,
Hmm.
so coaching is a very a difficult kind of a field wherein there is no clarity as to what you are going to get. Whereas an athlete who has played sport, he wants a lot of control in his hand.
Hmm.
He wants a lot of things to be in his control as to what is going to happen in the future. So that's a very kind of a very unstable situation for an athlete later on. So there should be some way, I believe, in which athletes should be able to contribute to the country because they have spent a lot of time working on themselves.
Right.
And not all the athletes, only 1% of the athletes are able to play at the international level. Rest of them are left over.
Yes.
And they are not able to even earn a lot of money because of that. So
Mhm.
that's the reason why I feel that something should come up for an athlete. I don't know how and what will come up because sponsoring is something that can go on for about 5 tournaments, can go on for about 10 tournaments, can go on for about 2 years, 3 years.
Mhm.
But you cannot sponsor somebody for his whole lifetime.
Yeah. Hmm.
So they have to be made self-sufficient in some or the other way.
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. And I mean, it is true at the minute, and it is not normal for sponsorships to be long-term sponsors. It's much more common for them to be short-term. unless you're extremely big, like a Roger Federer. I know he has very long-term deals with some of his sponsors, but obviously he's 0.0001% of even athletes at the top of the game. So I think for those athletes lower down, but I think it's also probably in the culture of the sponsorships in the different countries. And potentially, I think sponsorships could be more long term, but it's definitely something that would have to be pushed and cultivated. It's not something that I think organizations and companies will do on their own. There needs to be a path that is open to them. They need to be shown the light and how it could happen.
I agree to that. And one more aspect that is there in this is that a lot of concentration of these sponsorships goes to the athlete who is at the top.
Yes.
So even a little division of those financial sponsorships to the people who are a little below that athlete, even that could help.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's true.
Only the top one gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes the second and the third position should also get it.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, this is one of the big passions of mine, is to professionalize and commercialize badminton as a sport. So that it builds into a bigger industry, its own industry, and it can be self-sufficient, and we can employ more people and be more prosperous. So this is very close to home for me. So I think that's true in terms of diversifying where the money is going. Also helping the athletes to understand how to use the money once they've got it. I think there's a lot of athletes that get the money, they're not financially literate. And then they spend the money and then they have nothing left. That's a big problem.
I agree to that. There have to be certain systems in which, athletes need to be educated in terms of mutual funds, in terms of blue chip investments and other kinds of things when they have that money in hand.
Yes. I mean, or even in terms of looking at even more of a local level, if you have mid-level or top-level athletes that have got some money to spend or to do something with, to support local businesses and to have dividends or revenue streams from those businesses without them having to do anything. I mean, those would be very important. I don't know if that's a very cultural thing in India to do at the minute, but it could become something to do.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. There are some kind of associations coming up to help an athlete who has got money to invest them in other things. But it's relatively at a grassroots level right now, but I'm sure in future it will become better.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yeah, it needs to develop over time, definitely. But I definitely agree with you in terms of it's very difficult with sponsors because they generally want to work with people that are already successful. So then finding the sponsors to help you become successful is very difficult.
Correct.